Well, hello all and welcome. Hope you're doing good, staying safe. I've got a few things that I want to show you. One of the things that I want to show you actually is out on the plot with regards a little bit of ground preparation for putting some shallots in, for one thing, and preparing some ground for in the future with regards to some butternut squash and pumpkins, but that's, as I say, that I'll show you that a little bit later on in the video. Another little thing that I want to show you is I had a go at overwintering some peppers. Now there's a bit of a story behind this, and if you've heard this before, sorry, but if you're new to the channel, then I'll explain myself. My daughter, round about May, June, shall we say, of last year, sent off for one of these meal kits where you get all the ingredients, you have to prepare everything and cook it and so on. There's quite a few firms that do it, and one of the things that that was in this kit was a big bell pepper, and it was you know, a hell of a lot bigger than, it was sort of like the size of my two fists like this. It was massive, and so I had the seed out of that, and I'd sown that. I've got them, I'll show you them in a minute. I did the sowing 15th of July last year. I put 5 seeds into a 4-inch pot. Every single one came up, and I thought, right, I know the seed is viable, so come next year, i.e. this year, I can sow those and I've got some peppers. And I was going to throw them away, and then I thought to myself, why throw them away? Why not try and overwinter them? I know it is not the same as trying to overwinter a pepper that you've had harvest off, but these obviously by this time they were sort of up here sort of size, and I thought to myself, yeah, so I pinched the centres, cut the centres out, and this is 2 of them. As you can see, these have just been on the window ledge in the spare bedroom. They were sown, as I say, 15th, it's got it there. Let me just take that out. See, 15th of July 21, and so I potted them on individually, cut the tops off. You can see with where I'd cut the tops off them, and this one I've noticed over the last few days, it's starting to, there's flower. There's one, I think no, there's only the one, yeah, but there's a flower coming. So this I may now put into one of my bigger sort of 8-inch pots, 10-inch pots, still keep it on the window ledge, so that I can then put it out here in a few weeks time or so, when we're, well, a month or 2, but yeah, there's a bit of fruit coming on there, so I'm quite pleased with that. I did make a sowing at the very end of last year, 12th of the 1st. These are 2 of them. I've sown 5, so these are the same seed, and these are the others are around this size, so it was just, I just grabbed a couple of them, and they're all about this sort of size. So with me having these peppers that I've overwintered, albeit maybe not the same as you may do, as in overwintering peppers you've had harvest off, but I've got new and old, so it'll be interesting to see how we go on with regards to harvest off these. So I'm quite pleased with that. I mean, you tell me, doing what I've done with these, where I've cut the tops off, and are we classing that as overwintering peppers, or have I cheated? I mean, please be honest, be brutal with me, you know, tell me, am I cheating? I mean, these were sown last year, they were growing last year, and they're still growing this year, so, you know, but please let me know. Another job, just bear with me a minute. Nice bit of coffee. Another job I've got to do with regards to some more lettuce. I've done some spring onions as well around about the same time. I showed you at the end of my last video, excuse me a moment, I went, these are them crisp mint lettuce, and they're still here, still in that tray. I've left them, and I've got no intentions of putting them out, as I said at the end of my last video. But I've got some more that I want to do, and what I've got is I'm going to do some little gem like those. They're a nice little lettuce. I'm going to do some Webb's Wonderful. They're not bad. I'm also going to do this mix of Lollo and Lollo Rosso. We'll do some of them, and then I'm doing a Dobby's seed, and it's a heritage, well, it's from the Rob Smith collection, and it's a heritage lettuce, and it's Drunken Woman. I did those last year, and I'm very pleased with them. They grow a little bit like a Webb's, you know, good, but they've got a bit of a red tint to the outer leaves. So we're going to be doing them. And again, with regards spring onion, some more Guardsman. As I say, I've got some again in the tray next to where them lettuce are, and I'm going to do myself another sowing of those. But my main thing that I want to get and show you is with regards to this preparation work round on the plot. So I'm going to get and sow these lettuce and these spring onions, but I'm not going to show you that. But what I am going to show you is the preparation work round on the plot. So let's go and have a stroll round there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I was saying earlier about bed preparation. This is the bed that's going to have the shallots in it, and I'm not really going to do a great deal to it. All that I'm going to do is I've got some spent compost, and I've got some of my own fresh compost. I'm going to mix a little bit together and then just work it into this bed here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with regards the pumpkins and the butternut squash and so on. That's a slightly different approach, but similar idea. So let's go and get some of this compost out the compost bin. Okay, so I've just taken the front flap off this compost bin. This has been in here 18 months or so. It's looking pretty good stuff. I'm only going to put a little bit in here, literally 4 or 5 spadefuls, nothing too exciting. Take some of this rubbish out of it. It's looking really nice stuff. There's just 1 or 2 twiggy bits in it. No, that's all right. So we'll get a bit more of this out of here, and then I'm going to add some spent to it. Quite nice texture, this. Yeah, that's not bad at all. As ever, there's 1 or 2 stones in this. There's also a bit of mare's tail come up through this, which is, I think that'll do, because I only want to do a bit of a top dressing. So we'll put this, there we go, put that back. We'll now go and work in some spent compost, about the same again, and then just do a bit of a top dressing over the bed. Right, so that's the compost from out of the compost bin. This is some compost from growing my tomatoes, cucumbers and so on in the greenhouse, and I'm just going to work this in with that. I'll just put a couple of these buckets in for now, because I've got something else to add to this as well. I shall mix it as it goes out on here as such. So I'll tip a bit all the way along. And I'll mix that in, making sure to take anything out of this that looks a little suspect, i.e. anything like mare's tail. Now then, oh, need my fork to start with, and I'm just going to spread this around. Plant ID label in there. Right. Just using the fork to just work this, not too much. I don't want to bury it completely. I just want to make a half decent top dressing to the bed. It'll get hoed over again when I come to actually put the shallots in. So it'll get worked a little bit yet again, but that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. Now then, we've put that on. Now I'm going to add something else, something a little extra. I'm going to work some of this in, this Nutrimate powdered gold. It isn't gold when you look at it. It looks like ash. Now I'm just going to, just roughly, Not being scientific in any way with regards exact amounts, but I'm just going to scatter this and then do like I've just done with the fork. And hopefully this will give me a nice decent bed that, as I say, in a couple of weeks time I can then get and put the shallots in, and hopefully they'll thank me for it. So let's just gently work that in, not going too daft. I just, like I say, I just want to make a nice bed for everything to go into. I didn't do any shallots last year. They're a sort of thing, I grow them mainly to make pickled onions with, more than anything. So, and I'm the only one that eats them in our house. So I don't seem to do them every year, just do them now and again, as and when the mood takes me, really, I suppose. It's the best way of putting it. There we go. So that is all done, all ready now to have the shallots in it in a couple of weeks' time. Okay, so now we're moving on to the bed for the pumpkins. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be doing exactly the same to that bed there for the butternut squash. So what I'm going to do here is, again, using mixture of composts, but it's going to be buried in some holes. I'll show you what I'm doing. We're going to dig out some holes here, just to get somewhere basically to put some compost into. I don't want to make it too big, but I want to put a bit of depth to it. Finding some mare's tail in the bottom of this, which is no surprise. No surprise at all. We're doing a little bit of something extra as well to this when, there we go. So I'll dig that one out. I'm going to dig one out here. Right, that will do. Let me just get rid of this mare's tail. So, what I'm now doing with this is, as you can see, I've dug 2 holes out. Compost wise, I'm using clover, but what this is, although you can't really see that well, whenever I do any seed sowing, I always sieve the compost. The excess that's in the riddle goes into this bag, so that it doesn't go to waste. not going to put it all in. I'm going to put a fair bit in. That will give me some goodness. Just work it, make sure it's all in. That'll put a whole lot of goodness in one spot. Now then, backfill, and what it's going to do with it backfilling, it's going to make a little bit of a mound. Do the same with this one. Because I've got a little bit of something extra to add to that now. As you can see, we've now got 2 mounds. They're going to take pumpkins. When the pumpkins grow, it's going to be hard to find the centres with regards watering. Plus the fact pumpkins don't like to be lying in water anyway. So putting a plant on top of those mounds will help to ensure they're not sitting in water. When it comes to watering, I'm going to fit these. Now, what these, they're just normal, I need to show you this here. These are just normal downpipe, but can you see there's slots cut in each corner on all of these? And the reason for the slots is so that when you water, the water doesn't just sit in the very bottom, it spreads out, effervesces, I think, would that be the right word? And we'll push that in. We've got another one. This one is probably, this was probably the better one to show you, to be honest, because this one, as you can see, 2 slots in each corner with this one, and that will help me with regards to watering, to feeding, and so on. Now I've pushed them in. I'm going to stick my neck out and say they've gone down now into that compost, so that later on in the year, when I come to put the pumpkins in, I've got somewhere with regards a target, shall we say, with regards to watering. Now I'm going to do the same with that bed, but I'm not going to bother showing you me doing that because, well, you've just seen what I'm doing here, so I'm going to do this over there. But that's a little bit of bed preparation ready for later on in the year, and with regards to shallots, ready for 2-3 weeks time, something like that, when the shallots actually go out. So that's another little job done. Well, I'm round on the plot, and I'm going to get and start some peas off. Today is March the 23rd, and I know it may seem a little early to start peas, but I've done that. This is going to be about the 3rd year that I've started peas around this time of year. Reason I'm doing them early is I'm going to end up doing about 6 sowings throughout the year of peas. I do a row about 6 foot long. I'll explain as I go along and show you what I'm doing. I'm also, this is the 2nd year that I've changed to Hearst green shaft. Now before I grew these, I used to grow Calvedon Wonder, and great little pea, lovely. I used to do the same with those, start them early, go through. But with the Kelvin Wonder, you only get 1 pod per node, and you get 8 to 10 peas in a pod. But with Hurst Green Shaft, you get 2 pods per node. So technically, just through changing to a different variety of pea, I was doubling, or effectively, technically doubling me harvest. So I grew these last year, and I'm sticking with them. So I'll show you what I've done. I've done a little bit of preparation work. The reason I've not shown you is because, as you've already seen in this video, it's basically that preparation work. So I'll show you where I'm putting them and how I go about doing my peas. Okay, so this is the bed that I'm going to put the peas in. This last year had parsnips in it and some swede just in front. And what I'm doing is, rather than doing a small trench about 2 inches wide and zigzagging the peas in, I'm going to do a real wide broadcast sowing. The rake is about 10 inches, that's all. I got given this by a friend of mine some years ago, and it's perfect for this job. So what I'm doing is, I'll start from the middle and just making a shallow drill, nothing too sparkling, and do both sides. And just make us, as I say, I'm only going inch or so deep. Could probably afford to go a little bit deeper, but this is the way I do it, and if it works, then it'll do for me. It's that classic, if it's not broken, don't mend it. Now then, one little thing I'm going to do now is, with regards to the actual sowing, this is where it's a little different. I've had conversations with fellow plot holders, and there's a couple of us that do it this way. I've got 2 packs. There's probably, it doesn't actually say, but I think there's probably about 200 seeds per pack. And what I'm going to do now, you're going to be, some of you are going to probably be quite shocked with this, but I'm going to use both packs in that trench. Just broadcast sow them over that area. I remember talking to a fellow plot holder, and I used to do just sort of like about a 2 inch wide drill, and there would be a bit hit and miss. You've got to take into account the fact that you're probably going to get rodents taking some of these up, and some will not germinate, so you're going to have a bit of a loss there. That's 1 pack done. I know this may seem a little excessive. I mean, please feel free to comment, and but it gives a good, always get good harvests, obviously, with doing it this way. And I shall do, as I've said, I shall do about 6 harvests throughout the year. I shall do a row here, and then do some more around and about. That's it, that's all them in. Now what I'm going to do is the ground itself is fairly moist, and the fact that I've worked it as well has helped. But I'm going to give these a bit of a watering before I cover them, just to help bed them in. These will benefit. As I say, the ground is quite moist anyway, but go over these with a can of water. This can is, I forget now, I think it's about, holds about, is it 6 litres or something like that. And as you can see, I don't know whether you can pick it up there, but they're quite, it's starting to puddle a little. It's good, well drained soil, so it's not, they're not going to lie in water, that's for sure. And now we're just getting cover them back up. But before I forget, don't forget the label, otherwise I'll cover them up and then it'll be, where did they go? But I've got a little finishing touch to help me with that yet. So we'll just cover these up. It's about them done. Just make sure, and then I'm going to just firm it with the back of the rake, just so that it puts, make sure there's no air gaps, and the compost and soil mix that's on top sits nice and flat over them. I've now got a little cloche that I shall put over those. I don't know how many years I've had this. This is, I've got about 4 or 5 of these, and just invaluable. This is going on for nothing else other than to try to protect them from birds once they start to come up. You're not going to stop rodents. I'm not going to turn around and say, oh yes, I'm putting this on because it'll help stop any mice, and because it won't. There's absolutely no chance of stopping them little fellas. Tell you what I'll do, I'll put that way there, and then put that down there. There is just a little bit extra on the ends of these, which I shall put a brick over on both ends. Just move my label up a bit so I can then fold that all together. There we go. Brick on there. Fold all that together and put a brick on there, and that's it. That's the first sowing of my peas for this year. I shall dot them about in various places over the plot. There may be another row going here I may put some in on that bed next to them. Over there, the other plot, who knows. But I do it this way. Nice broadcast sowing. Once they start to come through, I'll then put canes in of about 3 foot in length and zigzag string around them, just to give them a bit of support as they start to grow. So that's another sowing done. It's quite nice to get on the plot and get something sown in the plot and done. And I know, yes, I've probably a little early. Maybe some of you don't sow yours till well into April. I don't know, but I've got these done now, and I'm quite pleased that I've got something going. Well, that's it for this one. Thank you all very much for watching. It really is very much appreciated. One last thing that I just want to mention. I've been round to the communal shed, paid me rent for the year, and that's right, £48.58. Now what that is made up of is £25 rent. My plot is 2.5 roods, by the way, to give you an idea of size, and that's made up of £25 for rent, £10.58 for water, because we've got water on our site, got mains water, £5 association fee, and £8 for the, on our site, they're brown bins, the garden waste collection, in other words. So, and I don't think that's bad at all. £48.58 for 2.5 roods of ground. That's not bad at all. Let me know what you pay, how big your plots are, and whether you think that's a good price or whatever. I don't think that's too bad at all. So without further ado, as I say, that is it for this one. So be good, look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra a bit.